Welcome to Big Blend Radio's special show focusing on the Chief Joseph Trail Ride. We're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. We are the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of the digital interactive Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and Parks and Travel magazine. You can see them both at bigblendmagazines.com. Now, the Chief Joseph Trail Ride, I think, Nancy, this is the third time we're covering this from our good friend Christy. It is a progressive trail ride hosted by the Appaloosa-horse-club. Now, a portion of the trail ride is completed each year, so the entire sequence takes 13 years to complete.
Wow.
I know. Now,
That's
Kristin Wood is
dedication.
going to join us back on Big Blend Radio today. This is her second year.
What? Oh, second year. Has she done
second time around. Yeah, she's done
there
13 years plus.
Yeah.
13 years, 15 years. I can't count.
So
I can't
she's
count.
in for 26.
She's going for it. She's going full blast on it. The route traces as closely as possible the route Chief Joseph and the nez-perce took while attempting to escape the U.S. cavalry back in 1877. Kristin Wood is joining us. She is a world champion horse trainer, instructor, and owner of Wooden Horse Training Stables in Three Rivers, California. Go to her website, wdnhorse.com. Nancy and I have had the privilege of meeting her in person and going on a trail ride with her right out there in the beautiful sequoias and the foothills of Sequoia National Park. It's a beautiful area, and I have to say one of the best trail rides we've ever had.
She was brave to take us.
She was, and so were horses, but she made sure we connected with the horses first. Isn't that right, Christy?
I love it.
Welcome back, Christy. So good
Thank
to have you
you.
back.
It's nice to be here. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, and last time you were on the show, I know we talked about what was going on in Three Rivers and over at Wooden Horse Stables, and also caught up on the last trail ride. So that was back in January of 2018. And so that was the first year of the second 13-year ride, right? We're getting this
well,
late.
second for me. This is actually the fifth time that the ride has had a full rotation.
Wow.
And Steve can come in on that one. I think it started in 1965, and you were correct. It does take 13 years to complete the ride. We ride 1,300 miles. They're at 100 miles every year, and to complete the ride, it takes 13 years.
Wow, it's amazing. I'm going to bring Steve Taylor on. He is the CEO of the Appaloosa-horse-club, and everyone, if you go to the website, appaloosa.com, especially horse riders, go check it out, and go to their website, appaloosa.com, and click on Trail and Distance, and you will find their different trail rides. And also you can click on Chief Joseph Trail Ride from there and get all the information about the trail ride. Welcome, Steve. How are you?
Thanks so much. I am fine. And I always want to throw in the fact that don't let the term club mislead anybody, because we are an international breed registry, and we have obviously members in every state and in about 25 countries. So we're not just a local saddle club.
Oh.
Okay, so now the Appaloosa horse, I remember the first time Christy came on a show to talk about the trail ride, she said you have to be on a Appaloosa. There's, you can't be on a pony or a Shetland pony or something like that. This is specifically important for the Chief Joseph Trail Ride, right? That the Appaloosa horse.
Exactly right. And a lot of that has to do with the connections to the Palouse country, as we call it up here in the Northwest. And it also has a lot to do with the connection with the nez-perce-tribe itself, because they were noted for their colorful horses. So we're trying to keep it fairly close to the main meaning of the ride itself. But any other trail ride that we sponsor or approve, it's pretty much open to everybody. But this one, we want to keep it unique and special.
So when you're looking at horses, how would you know that you're looking at an Appaloosa versus another horse?
Well, that's always a trick, because, in fact, I was just doing some writing about the characteristics of the breed earlier today, and you can have a horse that's as brown can be, or you can have a horse that's spotted with leopard-type spots. There are no two Appaloosas that are exactly the same, so people just have to understand that if it's got spots rather than splotches like paint horses, it's probably got some Appaloosa breeding in it, but you can get a very brown, solid-colored horse that has two Appaloosa parents. Its genetics didn't quite get expressed completely enough, as they like to say, but we do have, through DNA testing now, we've got tests for horses that are carrying a what we call the color gene, the leopard complex gene. And that's another way to prove that you have an Appaloosa. But just by looking, you hope you have spots, but not every Appaloosa does.
Wow. And it's amazing about the DNA, because we look at how we're all doing 23andMe and all those things, DNA, to find out our roots as humans. And now the role of DNA in regards to animals in that lineage. Steve, have you seen any of the lineage ever go back to the 1800s, back in Chief Joseph days?
Well, I suspect we have some, and I know the tribe has a registry and a herd of horses down near the town of Belapway, which is the heart of the original reservation. And those horses, they have, of course, through their storytelling history, they have horses that are definitely related to Chief Joseph's horses. And we have to assume that some of our others that we register have the same bloodlines in there somewhere.
Cool. So, Christy, is there something, as you as the horse trainer, is there a difference in temperament between an Appaloosa and other horses?
Well, horses, number one, are all individuals. There are some breed characteristics that draw us to different breed types. But I find that my Appaloosas are very willing to do most anything I ask of them, and they have incredible heart. And that's what I like about them on the trail, is they have a lot of trust and a lot of heart to carry us on these difficult trails.
What led you to, that's a good word, led, when you think about what led you on this trail. But what led you to go on the Chief Joseph trail ride from the beginning? I mean, this was, 15 years ago.
Oh, well, gee, I've been a member of the Appaloosa-horse-club for, I'm going to date myself here, probably over 35, 40 years. And so when you're a member, you get the Appaloosa Journal, which is the magazine for the breed, and there's always a write-up about the ride each year, and it's something I've always wanted to do. But being a horse show judge and a trainer and showing and campaigning horses, I never really had the time. And back in 2004, when this ride started over again, I'm kind of the person that likes to start at the beginning and finish it all the way through to the end. I just simply made my decision then in 2004 that I was going to do all 13 years and complete this. And just so, following up what Steve had to say, I did the first 13 years on a solid Appaloosa, but you know what, it's more about what's in her heart than what's on her butt spots. And she was so true to carry me, and I really believe the horse understood her heritage. She enjoyed seeing the bisons in Yellowstone, and she could, climb over rocks and hill and dale and through bogs and everything else, just carrying me on this magnificent trail. So her heart is I think her heart is spotted, even though her rump isn't.
Well, I think splotchies are cool. I think that's everybody has like something unique, whether you're a human or a horse, and I think that's what's so neat about the Appaloosa breed too. That hey, yeah, you could be a solid brown horse, and no one's gonna know. But I want to touch on this on the actual trail. It was actually, as I know, created in 1986 as part of the National Trail System Act, which we're actually in our 50th year anniversary of the National Historic Trails, whether it's a scenic trail, a driving historic trail, one that you're going to walk like the Appalachian Trail. And this is what's so interesting to me about this trail that you are doing, as this 13-year progression. Some people will hike the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail close to Christy's area, right? For her, maybe the John Muir Trail. They will do something like that. Some will do it 100%. I'm going to start at the beginning and go to the end. And some will say, I'm going to do a little bit every year. And that's what you're doing, this progression part of it. Because Steve, you couldn't really do the whole thing because, like you're saying, I know the National Historic Trail itself is 1,170 miles, but you're doing 1,300 miles, right? You couldn't.
Well, more or less, yeah. And obviously, in some parts of the trail, it's really difficult to follow the exact trail, but we certainly try to keep to it as much as we possibly can. And obviously, over the years, every 13-year cycle has to be different, just because development, landowners change, neighborhoods get crowded, so a lot of things can change in 13 years. So it's hard to even reproduce the trail from 13 years ago.
Wow. So you're changing up a little bit each time because you're not, yeah, you're loosely following the main trail, but have to go with where horses are allowed, people are. Sometimes, there's always these designations of who can do what. Um, I just want to touch on where the trail is, for people who don't know. It's really, isn't it Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana? Have I got that right, Steve?
That's correct. Yeah, starts over around the Wallowa Lake area of Oregon, and actually the town of Joseph is where we start.
Oh, wow.
And winds its way across kind of the bottom of the panhandle of Idaho, and then down the Bitterroot Valley and into the northeast corner of Idaho, and then across Yellowstone, and a little bit of time spent in Wyoming, and then almost straight north toward the Canadian border through Montana.
Wow. So,
I made it in there, Steve.
Hey, there you are.
Hey, there's Andy. Oh,
Yeah.
There's Andy.
I'm in. I made it.
Check it out.
How you
So
guys
Andy
doing?
Shaw, everybody. Andy, welcome to Big Blend Radio. So Andy, apparently, are you the person that makes the trail happen? I've heard that, like you're also the chef. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But you're the one who beats the trail down to make it happen.
Well, this year we did. It's been a lot of people over the years. But right now, I've been running camp crew for 25 years, and my son is actually the chef currently for
And
the
he's a
ride.
real chef.
He actually is an executive chef. But he learned to cook on the trail ride when he was 13 years old. He started when he was 13, and he's been 23 years maybe now on the ride.
Wow, that's amazing.
Cool.
So Andy, what led you to the trail and to start? Were you part of the club first, or what led you to be part of this and to be the man who puts it together?
Well, I got into it because of Don Johnson, who was one of the founding of the trail ride. He was one of the original that started in '65 with George Hatley. And Don Johnson was involved in a lot of horse activities. Appaloosa-horse-club, and we have Walla Walla Wagon Wheelers here, and he was part of that. And he got me involved because I was a mechanic, and I was renting a shop from him, and they were having a lot of trouble with the trucks breaking down all the time. And he got the bright idea that if he took a mechanic along, then they could just keep them going. And so that's kind of how I got involved in going myself. My wife was a horse person, and so we got a couple of Appaloosas, and we've just been involved ever since.
Wow, it's so cool. What is it like, getting everything to work on the trail? I mean, I know about plotting routes and in regards to tours. It's like, from my background, it's almost like putting a band on the road, with what we've done in our past, Nancy and I here on Big Blend Radio, just in our travels here in this country and in Africa and stuff. And all I know is nothing goes as planned, but a lot does. But there's this element of what could go wrong. In fact, we have a new series starting in our next Parks and Travel magazine that's about, we were challenged to write about the mother-daughter relationship. And we're going to take it from our travel part, which is, what could go wrong. And because everything can, and it's about, I think there's a connectivity, and does it come down, Andy, to relationships to make things work?
Well, it does. This year for us was interesting because we had a bigger turnover on our support staff than we've had in probably 10 years. We had 6 new people, which is, we've only had 1 or 2 new people, in any given year for probably the last 10 years or more. And a lot of us are family and friends that, we've been doing this together for a long time. And so we just kind of know what to do and what to expect of each other. But there's a lot of planning that has to go into taking a couple hundred people in the back country. The food, of course, is a huge deal. We pack all the food along that we need for the week. And we have our freezer truck and a kitchen set up that all has to, get set up every day. Water's another big deal. We have a water truck to bring horse water and people water. Porta potties, all that stuff has to be coordinated and organized, and
wow.
And then it's all got to be moved every day too. So
you have to move the porta potties every day.
Everything gets moved. Every camp gets moved every day. Everything.
You do not want a windstorm. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So we have people that know how to do it. They're good at it.
Wow.
And
wow.
But
so you move
it's
everything.
like moving a small village every day.
Wow. Okay. So when the riders are out, I know we've talked about this with Christy before, and so if I want to sign up, do I have to bring a tent? Do I need an RV? Like, what do I have? Like, how do I survive out there? If I bring, you have to have an appaloosa horse, right? But
if you have an appaloosa horse and you want to go on this ride, all you have to do is sign up and pay your ride fee, and then you can decide how you want to do it. You can just come and bring a tent, and we will, move your gear for you. So like your tent, your sleeping bag, and whatever baggage you have will get hauled to the next camp. When you ride out on your horse, it'll be waiting for you when you get into camp. That's the low budget camping, easy way to do it. Then, if you want to have a camper or a living quarter horse trailer or something like that, then you got to figure out who's going to drive it for you from camp to camp. And so, it almost doubles the cost because you're going to have your ride fee plus they're going to have a non-rider fee. And but everybody gets fed. Your horse's water is brought in.
It's all about the food.
Your horse's feed is brought in. You're going to get 3 meals a day. Your driver's going to get 3 meals a day. So, you're taken care of in that regard. So it just depends on how luxurious you want it to be.
Well, okay. So, Christy, can Nancy and I be your driver next year?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, believe it or not, I've already hired my driver. My driver and I shook hands on it on Wednesday, and he wants to drive for me again next year. But I'll take your gear with you if you like. You can come along and actually, if one of you wants to ride, that's how you could work it too, is one of you could ride the horse one day and someone could ride a horse the next day and take turns. You don't have to ride every day if you're not a regular rider. You can go along and camp and drive along with my driver when he moves my rig and just enjoy the camp and the people and the scenery and everything else as well.
Next year we're supposed to do the Northwest. It's happening. I'm just saying. It's the slow maneuvers coming. It's
good.
It's in the cauldron right now. We're bubbling it up, and apparently you have chefs that can make things happen, and we can eat. And Andy, can we bring our wine? Is that allowed at the end of the day?
Yeah, there's a fair amount of wine in camp, but probably a lot more whiskey than wine.
That's okay too.
But that's okay,
on our shows. I'm pretty sure we can get used to that.
There's tequila, there's moonshine, there's wine, there's whiskey. There's all kinds of spirits from all around. And everybody has a good time.
That's but I think this is something like I look at it at this because it's something that people have said, okay, I'm going to go do this. It is an epic adventure. It's a journey, right? And Christy, now you're on the second turnaround on this. How much, I'm going to go back to the same question, how much of it is relationships in regard to relationships with your horse and relationships with the land, relationships with the history, relationships with the people that you're with?
It's all of it. I tell people every year, the third week of July, I'm going to a family reunion. I love these people. I love these horses. I love the land. I love the history. I love what Andy does with the crew. It's just amazing. My best way to say this, it's like a cruise on horseback, because the food, the way they take care of us and feed us is just phenomenal. So there's just so much that's involved in all of that. The historians that come and speak to us. Even Steve had a wonderful presentation about the Appaloosa-Horse-Club's on its 80th anniversary of being established and being a breed registry. And he gave a wonderful speech about the history, a nice little synopsis in 4 pages, because he kept letting us know he was turning the pages. But in 4 pages, we got the wonderful history of 80 years, and I loved that. It was wonderful. Not everybody understood where it all started and how it started. So, and then we have historians that come and speak to us. The nez-perce do presentations as well. So I have another tribe. You know, my hair may be blonde, but my heart is red. I mean, I love these people.
Right. Well, I've seen you with the wig on too, like when you're on
that's it. The
New
parade.
Year's Day parade.
Yes.
Like I've seen that. Like she's got some share stuff going on too.
Yeah,
but Christy, that's the thing is, it will never, even when you go the same route, and it's not going to be 100%. Just like Andy said, it's got to move a little bit because things are changing these trails.
Right.
Which is unfortunate, but that is that level of flexibility whenever you do any kind of traveling or you're working with animals or you're dealing with nature. It's going to happen too in human beings. We're the ones changing the course a little bit. I think that's part of it, but the fact is it's never going to be the same. So tell us where your trek was this time, this trail ride. Where did you start and end?
We started at Tolo Lake. Oh, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead. You tell them.
No, let Andy tell.
I will tell you. Well, we were really fortunate this year this is the 5th time that we've done that trail section. And so what I did is I went back and got the book. Actually, Steve sent me the book that George Hatley wrote about the first 26 years of the trail ride. And so I was able to go in there and see where they had gone the previous times and who the landowners were. And what was really fascinating was that this year we were dealing with the children and the grandchildren of those original owners for the most part. Now there was one section where a big ranch out of Texas has bought up quite a bit, and so we had to ride through there. But everything else besides them was pretty much original owners or the kids or the grandkids. And we were actually able to ride for the first time since 1966 the section of trail that goes through Rocky Canyon. And they had done it in 66 and never since. And we were able to reduplicate that this year, which was really cool. But what did happen was because of subdividing up on the Dumac, we had to move farther out and get onto some fish and game land and some private ranch land. And it required us to clear some sections of trail that were really heavily plugged up with down trees. And so that's what we had to do to make it work. So anyway, we went from Tolo Lake to Whitebird, and then from Whitebird up onto the Joseph Plains. We stayed in a high meadow on an original homestead that was actually the grandparents. We rode through one of the ladies from the trail ride, her grandparents' property, formerly, where we could see the Seven Devils and so forth. And then we moved out across Wolf Creek, down across Wolf Creek and up to another high meadow on Wednesday. And then Thursday we dropped down to the Salmon River down at where they call the community corrals. And that's just below Cottonwood. And then from the community corrals, we rode up through that Rocky Canyon and back to Tolo Lake, made that 100-mile circle.
Remind me again of what state, because I'm just listening to all the places you're talking about, and I feel like I should be on the horse just like digging. I mean, the names just right there make me want to be there. Just remind me on the state again. What state was this one? This part?
This is all in Idaho.
It's all in Idaho, and it's all in Idaho County, Idaho.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure because for those of us listening in and may have not been there before. Which I don't think I've been there since I was a baby, right, Nancy?
Right. So it's Idaho County, and it's the three towns. Basically, you have Grangeville. We started. Tolo Lake is 9 miles out of Grangeville, and then the other town is Whitebird. It's on the Salmon River, and the other town is Cottonwood. Those are the 3 towns we were close to.
And if you read your park brochures, you'll know that Whitebird is the scene of the first confrontation between the cavalry and the nez-perce.
Yes.
And that's
first battle took place there.
And that's the thing about didn't Chief Joseph basically go, okay, they're coming, we're going to go from this way, and then retraced his steps. If I got that part right, I remember talking with Christy about this before, that he kind of did like a loop, right? In a way, like, or
They did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did.
Wow.
Now, Whitebird, of course, was one of the other chiefs. There was 5 chiefs. With Joseph was one of them. Whitebird was one of the chiefs, and so that's all named for him there. He was the warrior, more the warrior than Joseph was more of the spiritual leader.
Go ahead, Nancy.
No, I was just going to say that we spent so many years in Africa, and I can only liken this to Shaka Zulu with the 3-prong, how you circle around and backtrack and surprise people.
Yeah.
It was, He's like that.
He did it like cattle. Like he would take his armies and surround them. Like if you look at cattle's horns, like cattle, and they would go in that and wrap themselves around the village. But it's a little different because they were running, right? I mean, Steve, wasn't that the thing? They were running and also had to retrace and camouflage them. Not necessarily camouflage, but they were getting away from the cavalry as much as they could.
Well, and the miracle of all of that is that they were moving a few hundred horses and a few hundred people, and that included babies, old folks, non-warrior types, certainly.
And they didn't have the bridge to cross that we crossed on.
And they didn't have bridges. Right.
Salmon River is pretty formidable there. If you're down there and see it, it's quite a feat to go across that.
I think this is what's so important about what you're doing is that, number one, you're giving awareness to the trail and the history. I think this is just
living history.
It's living history. You're keeping it alive. Like, hello, this is what happened. And, where we are here in Tucson, I know, Christy, we've talked about this, the Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail, where Juan Bautista de Anza in 1776 came up on horseback, and Father Font, and that's how, the Presidio of San Francisco was founded, how they walked on foot. And he did a scouting trip. Then he even still did more afterwards. They do these loops. And I know from traveling, that's all Nancy and I do is we go in circles. It's not the wine time, but it is. And then the people make us go like, okay, we're coming back. But it was amazing to me how they were able to do this, and, Spanish, Mexican, Indian, Afro-Latinos, work together on foot, 200 plus people with kids, horses, mules, go across the desert and live all the way through it and
Nobody
get there.
died.
And yet this wasn't like what Chief Joseph was going through. That was high energy drama. This is life or death. This, all of it is life or death, but this is this other scale. And this is basically 100 years later. Yet it to me seems like the same era. You know what I mean? I'm talking 1776. This was 1877. What they were going through as people must have been so scary. Christy, when you're riding that trail, do you think about what they were feeling at that point?
Oh yes, I mean they had to pick up everything and move camp, and just like Andy does with our crew. But everything, all their possessions, they had to constantly move, and they didn't just relax. I mean they camped and then had to move on quickly again. I mean they were being chased. This was life or death.
Yeah.
And it was it was also sad. It was a little bit. I feel when I'm on that trail that it's a little bit hopeful because they're still eluding the cavalry. They're going to Canada. They're looking for sanctuary. There's still some hope that they can still be a people and stay together. And yet there's also a very sadness about that they have to leave their homeland. There's a beautiful country they've left behind. So, I mean, you just take it in. Every step your horse takes, you take it in, and you can just kind of sense what's happening.
Wow.
Well, and if you really want to feel humble, then you participate in the evening programs that the nez-perce storytellers have for us, and we have dancers, and we had every year now we have a blessing the night before the ride starts, which is given to us by one of the spokespeople for the tribe. But then to be on the trail, and there's probably Andy, maybe it's a couple of dozen younger folks.
Yeah, we have actually have 2 groups of nez-perce that both sponsor young teenagers to come and ride. And they do different fundraisers. They do some fundraising there with auctions and different things that are for sale, and it raises money to sponsor these kids to come and ride. So we actually have two groups from the Lapway area that are doing that. And so between the two, I don't know, there's probably 30, 40 nez-perce, that can show up any given trail ride.
And the thing that amazes me, or I guess shouldn't amaze me, but it's pretty humbling, is we have some of those folks who are direct descendants of the folks who were on the original trip in 1877. Oh. And they've had stories passed down to them through the generations. And it's pretty moving when they start talking about the stories they've heard.
Oh, man, that's so cool. I love that.
I think it's so important to have this documented too, and I know through what you're doing, it keeps these stories alive, which I think is just so important, because as generations come and go, sometimes these stories get lost.
Right.
And I think when people have a real experience, that it keeps that storytelling going further. And I know with Native American tribes, which I'm going to steal Canada's thing of it's First Nations. When we look at that, they were very oral in storytelling, and now it's really hard to keep it for when you look at family history and tracing history. It's very difficult, and this is just, I think that what you're doing with this trail, Steve, this is keeping that history alive and out in the forefront for people.
Well, and I'm sure that was on the minds of the folks who got things started back in 1965. They said, just as they talked about when they decided to form the breed registry, we need to preserve what we have, we need to document it and honor it. And I think that's what they're trying to do with this trail ride, is honor the memory of all those folks who went through that.
And so when you talk about the breed registry, this is about having like true breeders, that are really documenting. This isn't, when we look at dogs, sometimes there's backyard breeders and stuff like that. So this is like true breeders of the horse. So that's important, and that they're documented, right? And so
right.
That you
well,
can watch
and if you were a horse, wouldn't you want to have a birth certificate of some sort?
Yeah.
Of course you
would.
would.
You need one at the border.
But
yeah.
I thought Dr. Ed with the foot going out,
Well, you need one. You need one to go on this ride. Your horse has to have one to go on this ride. Yeah.
Right. To keep. Yeah, you got to have your paperwork. But
right.
also, when you think about Chief Joseph at this time, did he start the breed, or was this breed running around at the time? Because we've also got our wild horses that some say are feral. I don't want to get into that whole drama of that. But horses are horses, and they're all beautiful. That's all I want to say. And I want to save every single one of them. So
well, and there are some interesting theories about that. I mean, the most commonly accepted theory is just the fact that the horses that were introduced to the hemisphere from Spain, made their way slowly up north, and the things that I have read have talked about maybe around 1700 horses got this far up into the Northwest, and they traded for horses, they stole horses, some just were out there running all over the place, and you just caught the ones that you could ride, and nobody really owned them until somebody could catch them. But the other theory, which is interesting, is that there's one of the Kyrgyzstans, one of the stand countries, I think it's Kyrgyzstan, but anyway, there's a huge herd of Appaloosa horses over there whose DNA is pretty much a match for today's domestic horses here in the U.S.
Wow.
So the other theory is that the Appaloosa horses actually came from the north across the land bridge back in the early days.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it because none of us were there.
That's really
I always find it really interesting that we, are so positive and make dramatic changes to wildlife populations based on something where we weren't there, so we really can't know. So, I mean, we do know to a certain degree from Darwin that animals migrated here and there and went here and there and here and there, and then the platelets, separated, and then that kind of changed. So I don't know, when it comes to should we corral them and shoot them or corral them and adopt them, not so sure. Because I don't want to pass a judgment on it because I wasn't there.
No, but I think at this point, when we look at the horses that we have, Appaloosa horse and where they could come from, I think this is where the beauty of DNA. I think that we can trace DNA is a huge deal that is going to maybe save a lot of animals. I mean, Steve, what do you think? I mean, does that help people understand what maybe is in their backyard, whether it's a wild horse or maybe, hey, I've got this horse that I just, bought at an auction, or maybe I just inherited this horse, and now they get to understand the lineage and the history, because horses tell history. That's the beauty of horses, man. They are old souls, man. And when you look into a horse's eyes, they've been around. I don't care how young the horse is.
That's very true. Well, and the real advantage of genetic testing these days is not just to verify the parents of a horse, but this testing has become so sophisticated that we can test for more and more genetic diseases that are passed along to the next generation. And if we can avoid those and not put two of those carriers together, then we will solve a lot of health problems too.
Awesome. I want to go back to the trail ride. So I know that you've got good food. Andy, I want to hear what are you guys cooking up? Because I know that the wiggy is there. What we call wiggy is wine and moonshine, because it makes your tail feathers go wiggy wiggy. But what's on the plate? I want to know what people get to eat every day.
I've had people this year say that it's a trail ride cruise, because of the food, and so what he does is he just knows how to order the kind of stuff that he can make out there. But we have, we always have a steak dinner. We always have, a chicken dinner of some sort. It could be chicken marsala or Parmesan chicken or whatever he'll make. We had pork chop dinner. Sometimes he'll do a fish dinner, or he's done Thai and Indian as well. So it's something different every day. Wow. And then on the breakfast side, we do a lot of, your standard breakfast fare. It could be French toast, biscuits and gravy, eggs, bacon. And then, a continental breakfast bar out. So we do like steel cut oats, and then they have, whatever kind of dinner little rolls and stuff they can fruit.
And you're out in nature eating. There's nothing like being outside and eating. Nothing. There's nothing.
That's right. That's right.
We should all eat outside.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's the most amazing.
So anyway, it's a great time, great food, and it's something that we've worked on. Like I say, 25 years I've been there. My son's been on it about 23 years, and it's just every year we try to think of something that we can make better and easier. So that's what we've been doing. Yeah.
I was going to say, Christy, as a person riding the horse, and how many miles do you do a day? And do you get hungry midday? What's it like actually just being out there on the trail? I mean, and how early do you get up to do it?
Oh gosh, we get up at 5 because we want to feed our horses and let them eat a couple hours before we actually have breakfast and then head out. So we want to take care of our animals first, our horses first. But Andy's really good at getting the crew's has a tables all set up, and you can actually go down sort of an assembly line and make your own lunches. So the lunches are quite good. There's quite a bit that we can put in that lunch bag, put in our saddle bag, so you can snack as you're going down the trail if you get hungry. And we have a lunch break where we can have our sandwiches, and we're well taken care of then. So.
Wow. And so you get up early, and 5 is good. I mean, that's not too bad at all. And how long are you on the trail? And, so just giving people an idea, and I want to talk with you about that horse connection and having, I mean, would you say, Christy, a novice could do this?
I don't know about a novice. I think you need to be a really serious trail rider, be prepared for some steep inclines or descending up a mountain. We had some really rough rocks this time, and the pull was a big climb for some of these horses. The descent going down is another thing too. So you've got to be a fairly balanced rider, I think, and comfortable. With 4,500 foot drops off the side. I mean, you have to have a good mount underneath you. Also, I mean, you have to know your horse. A lot of people do lease horses. I have one horse that I lease every year. He's an extremely well seasoned trail horse. But I don't know about a novice rider. I would be skeptical about that. I think it's difficult sometimes. But the miles are different, as Andy will say. We had one day it was 26 miles. The next day it was 15. Just depends on where the camp is going to be. And where the trail is going to be. Andy can answer that a lot better than I can. They just say, you're going to ride 26 miles, and I just kind of tighten my belt and say, okay, and we go do it.
We try to plan for 20 and know that we could go 25. And the other thing too, this year was a challenge because we had high elevation gains and losses. We went from 1,200 feet to almost 5,000.
Wow.
And there's the hot part of the day and the cool part of the day. Luckily this year we rode, some of the hotter sections in the morning, rather than at the end of the ride, and so we tried to move camps and trails accordingly so that we could make the best of, the hot part of the day and the cooler high country and make it work. So the longer rides were, kind of a necessity to get to the camp. And we shortened them up as much as we could. But
did you get any storms? Any storms while you're traveling? Because summer you get to, I don't know, maybe because we're here in Tucson, Arizona, and we're ready for a thunderbolt any minute. Yeah. But did you have to be?
This year we didn't. This year we didn't have storms, but a lot of years we have had huge hailstorms, huge thunderstorms, wind, rain, all of that. So, we've been out in the weather.
I think it's cool though, because I think you're truly living when you do things like this. Like you're in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not thinking about bills and people's drama. You're out in the element. You're with nature. You're with your horse. You're with history. You're like in it, man. It's so cool. I'm like, this is so cool. Steve, I wanted to ask, any feedback that you get over these years, have you had people kind of their lives transform and change? Like, do they get strength and go like, this trail has helped me overcome other issues in life? I'm not trying to be a psychiatrist, psychologist, or anything like that, but doesn't this kind of push people out of their comfort zone and make them strive forward?
Oh, I think that's exactly right. It's definitely therapeutic for a lot of people. And of course, Andy can tell you more stories than I can, but we've had a few marriages that resulted from the trail ride. So.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah, we got quite a few.
And probably a few divorces too. I don't know.
Could be.
Christy, you're still married.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. Married to my horse. Yeah.
But I did want to throw in one thing there about the passion that these people have, especially the ones that keep coming back. I mean, I just did the checking yesterday. We had riders from 20 states, including people from as far away as Florida and Texas.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And we also had a participant from New Zealand and one from Germany. And we've had several other international guests over the years from not just Canada, but England and the Netherlands and Norway. And
they ship their horses there?
No, they usually lease horses here from somebody.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So someone like Christy, like what you're saying, and it's kind of cool because you can watch over your horse too, right? If you're going to lease a horse, that you're there to take watch, full eye. I think that's there's something about that with your horse. It's like, are most of the people that lease horses there on the ride, or they just like, hey, we know this is going to be cool? Steve, how does that work?
I'd say most of them are either there part of the time or all the time. Very few that unless they actually know somebody and trust them
Yeah.
with their horse, that's a little different deal. But I would certainly be nervous about putting my horse in the trailer and having somebody haul it away and say, see you in 10 days or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different.
Does anybody ever burst out into song on the trail?
Yeah, does anyone sing? Yeah.
Oh, we sang a few times. Like the bear went over the mountain, and what do you think he saw? He saw another mountain. We did that on Tuesday.
Okay. And everybody, I just have to.
I have a reason for asking that because I've taken tours to Kenya, and I was always kind of amazed with what people do in a place where they're not familiar with a lot of times, and singing seemed to be one of those things that I was always like, really? Okay, that's fun. Let's do it. So was that led by somebody leading, or was it just spontaneous?
And we were saying that because we were getting slap happy, I think, at 24 miles going, oh my gosh, there's another mountain, there's another valley, there's another mountain. But, my experience is actually it's more quiet. We want to hear the sound of the wind blowing through the trees. We want to hear the sound of hoofs on the trail. It just takes you back 150 years. You want to, the camp is moving and your thoughts go back to that. So actually, there's some nice conversation, meeting people on the trail and discussing things, but the silence is also wonderful to just take in the elements and what's happening on the trail with your horse. Your horse is breathing. My goodness. It's just, there's a lot of serenity and the quietness as well.
It's the same as hikers. We don't want to always be chitty chatty. There's the beginning, and then everybody splits off.
Yeah.
And if it's like, please do. And it's just me, like everybody just go on your own thing. I don't want to talk. And then later you come together, and that's when you have your campfire or or champagne time for us. But I think that's that thing about being out. If you don't have that detox time of just connecting with everything, that's the whole part of it. I think, we need that. People need this. Steve, I think the world needs to go on this trail ride. I'm serious. This is like such an amazing, and it's been since 1965. Steve,
right?
This is amazing.
Well, and certainly when you get out into the middle of the mountains and there's not the sound of traffic, there's no building that you can actually see. It's all Mother Nature. It's a whole big stress reliever for sure.
I want to ask each of you before we go here, and I really just want to get on the horse right now and go out and just, I want to go through meadows. I just want to go out. Like, doesn't matter. I'll go through anything on it. But a positive experience that everybody can understand, like an experience you've had out on the trail, that's something that moved you and is something that's just, those memorable moments in your life of what brings you back and what makes you do what you do. So I want to start with you, Christy, because, hey, you've been 15 years now, and you guys just came back. And now, listeners, they just came back from this. So we're getting them fresh off the trail. Christy, for you, what is the one thing you want people to know about why you go back, why you do this?
It's the history. I love riding through history. If we don't look back at history, we're going to lose it. And I just love reliving it. I love bringing it alive. I like bringing it to the forefront. And so with me riding on this trail, I'm riding through the past, yet into the present. And the history is wonderful about the Native Americans, especially the Appaloosa horse. I love the Appaloosa horse. It's my breed of choice. And I'm riding a special horse this year too, because he's related to the horse I just finished the 1,300 miles with on that last rotation. So she is now semi-retired, but off the trail, and now I'm riding her younger brother. And it's just wonderful experience because my partnership with the horse riding through history. I don't know how else to say it. There's a little cap.
Talk to each other afterwards? Like, like, hey, you just did the trail, I did that, I've done it for so long, and like, where did you go this time? You know what I mean?
Well, I think my horse has a sense of, especially my young horse that I'm riding now, has a sense of accomplishment. At the end of the day, I tell him he's such a good boy, and he's pleased that I think that he pleased me, and he was able to handle the trails. It was phenomenal. It's wonderful to be on a young horse and see them evolve and accomplish something like this as well, and that develops our partnership even more and our trust even more.
I just wonder if horses ever get like deja vu, like I've been here before, and it could be their ancestors.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'll answer that. I'll answer that for you in Yellowstone, because I was riding Dollar, my mare, in Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
She had never seen a bison before. She's never seen that before. And we were up on the hill looking down over probably 300 to 500 bison down on the valley floor.
Wow.
And she looked down there, and there was a calmness about her and a breathing about her that was so different, almost as though she knew her heritage. Now, maybe I'm fabricating all of this, but there was a sense, I know my horse well enough to know how relaxed she was, and most horses that have never seen a bison before wouldn't be relaxed. They're going to turn around and run the other way, wanting to know what the heck that object is or what that animal is. And she stood calmly and just looked over the horizon, and it's just, we both just took it in, like, 130 years ago, 150 years ago, we were all here. Our ancestors were all here. And I think she sensed that. It was a very peaceful moment for both of us.
There's that quote from a Native American. I'm sorry, I don't have the thing in front of me, but it's like, this grass has seen these horse prints before. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Where, yeah.
Nancy and I think, honestly, we believe like the horse should be the American animal. That should be the symbol. Like the horse should be that, when we look at that, So I want to go over to Steve, and also we're going to go to you, Andy. But Steve, I know that you go in and out on the trail and go and speak and do, and you've been part of this. So tell us an experience for you of what keeps you going. I mean, I know you're the CEO of the Appaloosa Club, but it's obviously something very, very special, this trail.
Well, it is, and there are probably more special moments that I can tell you about, but I do remember the very first time I got a chance to go, and the first time I saw, 100 horses on a picket line, most of them with big coat patterns of all kinds of colors.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was just the coolest thing. And you could tell that even though these horses had never seen each other, or most of them hadn't seen each other, they were mostly pretty calm and just hanging around having their snacks. And it almost was like they were enjoying each other's company. And I just thought that was really cool. And then the other thing that gets to me every year, and I haven't quite thought about it in this particular way until just now, but to see a couple of hundred people from all across the country out in the middle of nowhere, it's like they look so relaxed, and you can tell they've left a lot of troubles behind. They're just here enjoying today. And I think if we can give more people that experience, I'm all for it.
I love that.
Nancy and I are ambassadors for a program called the 8 Keys of Excellence. And everyone can look at it, the number 8keys.org. And it's a character education or character development program for youth. But we also use it in our seminars about responsible tourism, which is exactly what you do with the Appaloosa Horse Club, of history and light-footedness, and just that it's sustainable, and it's beautiful what you're doing. And this is it. Live in the now is the 4th key of excellence. It starts with integrity, and then learning failure leads to success, then speak with good purpose, and the 4th is, this is it, live in the now. And I think what you're saying is so true. And where you are in that present, and I know that Christy is a writer, right? And if you're not present, your horse is gonna know. That's not a good thing. You better be in the now. That's the one thing. Horses know, and I think that's the truth. And I think sometimes we need those escapes. We need to come back to our roots, to our earth, so that we can really be in the now, because it's almost impossible right now. If you're at home and the news is on and all that stuff and life is going on, business, personal stuff, whatever, it's almost impossible to be in the now and be clear and not bring, you know what I mean? Be in the now and just take in what's around you in a positive way. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this.
It's really about paying attention or paying respect to the moment in time. If you don't pay respect to it or pay attention to it, things can happen.
Right. And you're taking history and present in one. And I think that's beautiful, which makes hopefully a better future. Andy, for you, let's hear one of your memorable moments. Is it cooking? Is it transporting? Is it the people, the horses?
Well, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone because I've got my right-hand man here just showed up, and he's been on the trail ride 25 years with me. His name's Ervin. But anyway,
Hi,
what
Ervin.
happened?
Hi, Ervin.
Hey. Can you go lean into the phone? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. What happened to me was they conned me into driving the truck on the year that nobody wants to drive the truck because we're going over Lolo Trail, and it's a Jeep trail. It was made in the 30s for Model A's, and we're driving trucks over it.
Cool.
And Don Johnson's own son quit and said, "I will not drive the truck over that road again." And so he got me to do it. Yes, this is how it happened. So, but it was a challenge, and it was a lot of fun. And when we got done, both Ervin and I said, "We will never do this again." Doing it for 25 years.
Oh boy.
So, but it comes down to, I like the history. Every year I learn something more, about the nez-perce, about the people involved in the whole 1877, battle. Learn something every year, and that's really nice. But we also have met so many people that are just awesome people. And so it kind of gets to the point of it's a lot of work, but we don't want to miss it. And, and we got this bright idea that maybe we could retire and just come on the ride and maybe ride or or drive for some whatever. But what we found out is there's about 4 of us that neither one of us wants to do it if the other one isn't there. And so we can't just quit one at a time. And if we all quit, it wouldn't happen. So we just keep taking it a year at a time, and we keep doing it.
Well, we thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being there, Ervin and Andy. Thank you so much for being there for us. You make the ride. You really do.
I think that is so important for those who are out there and then they come back, they want some kind of comfort. So Ervin, welcome. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Ervin, we want to know who is in charge of the porta potty moving from camp to camp.
Well, all I can tell you is don't let Michelle run into the outhouse while you're in there.
Oh. Okay, so Ervin,
funny.
What led you to get on the trail and be part of the crew that makes this happen?
Well, it's gotten to be kind of a family reunion. We all, here from Walla Walla get together, and all the people from all across the country get together, and it's wonderful to meet new people and to see old people and talk about old times and who didn't make it back and if they're coming back or if they're too old to come back. You worry about them and you think about them and you wonder how long they can stay on the ride. And it's just kind of a family thing. And then of course there's the history and the dancing and the girls and just a lot of fun.
Suddenly I thought there was hula skirts involved. I don't know.
Hello.
I was like, something.
No hula skirts.
Well,
but it's a good twist.
But Ervin, I wanted to ask you, what is your main responsibilities when on as a part of the crew for making 200 riders happy at the end of the day and the start of the day? That's pretty huge.
Well, my main responsibility is getting people in and out of camp safely, and getting them, not getting them lost, which has happened occasionally, but we try to keep that to a minimum.
You'd have a problem with Nancy and I. I'm just saying. We don't.
Our specialty is getting.
Well, no. Do you? Okay, no, but that's a good question. Ervin, do you have maps? Do people take maps? Are they? I mean, what? How do you know where you're going? We have maps.
We also put out signage. The year that I didn't put out signage, which was last year, we had a little convoy that got down to what was the name of that? Indaha. They made it back, and they had a little experience to tell, and they weren't any worse for wear. But I decided that I needed to be a little more careful about how I put out my signage after that.
Signage is, yeah, because I don't know. For me, like I read maps though, and I turn the map. If I take a right, I turn the map to the right.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's
really
not
bad.
necessarily the thing to do. I'm just saying.
Yeah, this year we tried something a little different. We always try to travel in a convoy. So
it's a convoy.
If they keep the person in front of them in sight, they won't get lost. But if they lose sight of who's in front of them and miss a turn, then they could get lost. So, but we posted all the directions on our Facebook page this year and put some GPS coordinates in for the camp. So so the tech people had no problem. But we still have people that say we want some lines on a piece of paper because we don't really do the tech thing. So, but then again, if you turn the paper upside down, it don't work.
No,
so there's always a way to get lost, but we really try hard to keep everybody together.
And what's the best page? What is the best Facebook page for people to go to for the Chief Joseph Trail Ride? Is it the Appaloosa-Horse-Club, or is there a separate one?
It's a separate one, and I think Christy can tell you, but isn't it just called the Chief Joseph Trail Riders?
Yes, Chief Joseph Trail Riders, the Facebook page. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So everyone, you can look up that and start to get connected with that. But Ervin, I wanted to ask you a memorable experience for you that is really positive. Everyone's given theirs. I wanted to get that from you. That makes you keep coming back.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Aww.
No, the reason I keep coming back is because I get a certain amount of satisfaction in doing the job. I get a lot of congratulations and praise, and people appreciate what I'm doing. My job, I get that to a certain degree, but it's just kind of a little bit of an ego boost, I guess. And I appreciate everybody, and they seem to appreciate me, and I like that.
Hey, right on.
You could just say it's fun.
Yeah. No. I think it sounds like it. I mean, number one.
It sounds like fun to me.
I know. So, okay, final question. You had something else, Nancy, real quick?
I was just going to say, when we lived in Kenya, I was part of the East African Safari Rally thing where vintage cars tried to go from A to B to C in a given amount of time. And it reminds me of that because one of the jobs I had was go post things with directions at pivotal points. And apparently the first time we did it, I sucked. Because everybody ended up in a different place.
The reality is, this whole thing is don't you think we need more of these kind of events to have fun in the world? We need to have things like this. This is
absolutely.
And I'll finish what Ervin didn't tell you is that when we get our camp moved and set up and everything's kind of going, there's at least 4 places in camp that we can go anytime we want to and be given a drink, because their bars.
At the end of the day, get some shine and you're fine.
Yeah, their bar is always open, and we can always go. And and if we go to all 4 at once, you got to be real careful of that. So we have to kind of space it out. And they go, well, how come you didn't come over and see us, yesterday? Well, we had to go to the other one, so we have to spread ourselves around. But is just a lot of fun.
It's a tough job.
Christy, this does sound like something Nancy and I should do.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, you should. I
a
keep telling you.
a mason jar in your saddlebag.
yeah, everybody should. It's a mandatory mason jar. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen.
Well, come join
Okay.
us. I've been trying to get you on the ride for years, so come join us.
I will get there. We are going to get there. We will at some point
It's
make
on
it.
our bucket list.
It is going to happen in next year, 2019. We have like the Northwest like on our board, and so that's. I mean, we're coming for some shine somewhere, wherever you
There you
are.
go.
We're
We'll
coming.
bring the mason jar.
We'll bring our own mason jar. We'll even bring our own shine. But really, we want to be like, we want to interview and sit down with you guys and play campfire. But also, I will walk part of the trail with you guys. That's my thing. I'm a walker. I will walk.
Well,
And,
Andy, Andy needs to answer that one. I don't think you're allowed heavy walkers.
Oh, we're not allowed?
We had an
Uh-oh.
old gentleman that walked the entire trail.
Wow.
You know, he walked behind the horses every day. He would head out and walk behind them and come into camp. He was up in his 70s by the time he finished, and he did the whole 13-year section that way.
Wow.
Mm.
Was his name Jim Ostick, our friend? He walked across the country. He's done the part of the Appalachian Trail. He did the American Discovery Trail from Maryland to California on the Pacific Crest Trail, and he cycled the entire circumference of the country. So is it him? I just want to make sure.
You know, I'd have to do some research to remember his name. I can tell you what he looked like. He was tall and slender, but I do not remember his name.
Well, we're tall, but slender goes in whatever you want to believe. Have some shine and it'll happen. But okay, so seriously, no, I want to come out and we definitely want to do this as best we can when we can. But here's the final question, and it's a fun one because, you know, I was going to say our 1 hour walk, our 1 hour ride question, but Nancy, I think they need to play campfire karaoke, don't you think?
Yeah.
I think they need to play campfire. Yes. No, don't worry.
Yes.
I know. Now, Christy has played Spontaneous on the show before,
Yeah,
but we're not going to.
She did good.
She did. But this one is. This is cool. You're going to tell us if you're going to have a campfire. Where is your campfire going to be? Who do you want to have at your campfire? It could be alive or passed on, and it has to be on the trail, obviously. Otherwise, like, on the trail. Where's the campfire? Who are you inviting to your campfire? What are you eating? What are you drinking? And what are you talking about? We want the gossip. Oh, music.
Yeah.
Music. That's the thing.
Singing?
You're going to sing something to your guests at the campfire, and we want to know what that is. So that's a long question. So, Christy, you've been on our show before, so we're going to pick on you first.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
My gosh. All right, where's the campfire going to be?
Yeah. Yeah, on the trail.
I think the campfire is going to be at Lolo Hot Springs because that's where we start on year 5. Yep, that's where we start at year 5, and it's beautiful there and peaceful by the river, and I think that's a great place for the campfire.
Now, who's coming to your campfire?
You know who I'm going to ask? I'm going to ask Ronald Reagan to come to mine because Ronald Reagan was a horseman, and I think he's going to be my guest, Ronald Reagan.
All right.
Well, he was always up for stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He would be like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah. Okay. So
all right.
You got him. What are you cooking?
Oh, gosh, I don't cook. I'd have to call Andy. I'd have to have Andy come out there.
What are you going to cook for Ronald? Don't do jelly beans.
Well, what you do at the campfire, s'mores. That's what you do.
S'mores.
Okay.
S'mores.
Okay.
Perfect.
S'mores
Perfect s'mores. Yeah.
S'mores.
S'mores with Ronald Reagan. Okay.
S'mores with Reagan. Are you going to talk with him about something in specific?
Yeah. What are you going to talk to him about?
Yeah, I asked him to help us get the ride through Yellowstone again, which he did, I think, back in 1984 or 86.
Oh, wow.
He helped the ride get through Yellowstone. So I'm going to ask him for that favor once again.
Okay, and then what are you going to sing to him?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, what am I going to sing to him?
You can't do I'm your private dancer. I don't know why that popped into my head, but
tie a yellow ribbon.
I'm going to sing America the Beautiful.
Oh,
there
nice.
you go.
Because
Nice.
I love
Good
my
one.
flag and I love America and I love that I'm living in the land of the free because of the brave. I'm all about the veterans and things like that. So that's what I was saying.
And the Wounded
Cool.
Warrior project that you've done, like you're raising all this money. Tell everybody how much you've raised with your efforts over at Wooden Horse. Everybody go to wdnhorse.com. I got to give a shout out for Christy. And if you go to Sequoia National Park, and you don't go hang out with Christy and go for a ride, like you're missing out, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Just saying. But you did the Wounded Warriors. How much have you raised now?
Yes, we're in 2014, I started this campaign. We're trying to raise $15,000 for an all-terrain wheelchair, which actually has little tracks on it like a little tank. And we want to present that to a veteran who is given part of himself to keep us free. So right now, just from yard sales, car washes, and a silent auction that I have during my trail clinic that I do here every April, I have raised $10,600.
Oh, cool.
She's on the
And so we're going to get that in a couple of years. We're having another big sale in September, and we're getting people to donate antiques, all sorts of things to us, and we're going to make that happen. We're going to make that happen.
Good for you.
Power
Thank
to
you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to go over to Ervin next because, you just showed up on the show, which we're happy about. So, Ervin, tell us about who you're going to invite to Campfire Karaoke and where.
Well, it's going to be at Muscle Shell Meadows,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to invite all of you guys.
Thank you. Party.
I can't think of anything I'd rather do than have a big old party. And I'm going to sing some Bon Jovi songs, particularly the cowboy one.
I'm a cowboy.
Yeah, that's the one. And we're going to have hot dogs.
Are we going to talk?
Was that all there was as far as questions?
Did you want to have a specific conversation, or are we going to eat hot dogs and sing? Bon Jovi. I'm cool either way.
We'll just sing.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not, Ervin? I think we should dance. Ervin, we'll let everybody else sing, and I can dance.
There you go.
We got a dancer. See, it is the private dancer.
Oh, I'm a dancer.
I knew it. I knew we'd have a private dancer.
We go there.
Tina Turner, Power. Tina Turner, Bon Jovi. Okay, this list is getting good. Okay.
I like Tina Turner really well.
Yes. You can't bash the Tina, man. She is, she's the queen. She's the queen. So, Andy, where are you having karaoke and with whom? That sounds
well. Yeah. If we're gonna have a campfire, it's gonna be up on top of the Lolo Trail. When it gets cold up there at night, so you got to have a campfire. And we're gonna invite Michael Wilkins from Germany. And he's going to come back, and he's going to have sawhorse races with me, and he might dance with chaps, with nothing underneath of them, just chaps.
Hopefully he'll wear his pants.
Yeah, he'll probably wear his pants, but he's going to be there.
This sounds like Trail Scandal.
Yeah,
he is so much. And Eric Tillman's got to be there. If we're doing karaoke, Eric Tillman's going to be there. He's from Montana. He's going to sing Chug-a-Lug. And Brown Eyed Girl, that's the other one he'll sing. And all the ladies that want to come, they can all come. So
this is just like, what's under your kilt.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Which gives rise to the kilt lifter.
No, don't start. Don't go far. Just do not go further. This is a family-friendly show.
Well, I won't tell you all the history, but those are the guys that are going to be there because it's going to be a riot. They are hilarious. And we'll have a lot of fun.
So are you eating hot dogs too?
Well, we'll be drinking whiskey, but I don't know if we'll be eating anything or not. But we'll be drinking whiskey for.
I think that everyone's camps need to be close by. I'm just saying, so we can float from one, s'mores at one.
I like that idea of just go from campground to campground.
I know. I like that. I like that a lot. So Steve, since you're the CEO, you have to close us off on karaoke and campfires. Where's your campfire and who you're bringing to karaoke?
I'm afraid my story might be boring compared to that, but I think one of my favorite places would be Jenny Lake over in Teton National Park.
Mm. Beautiful.
And I can smell the air right now just thinking about that.
Wow.
And I'm not sure who I would invite. I think I'd like to have a visit with both my grandfathers again, because one of them I lost when I was three, and didn't really get to know him, and the other one was always far away, and I'd like to know more about what they had to do. So we would talk about. I remember reading my grandmother's diary, and it seemed like from Thanksgiving until Easter, my grandfather spent almost every day out in the woods cutting timber so he could build something, whether it was a barn or a fence or a shed or whatever. And I thought, man, those guys were tougher than we are.
Yeah.
Where were they? Where were they?
One was in Illinois and one was in Missouri.
Wow. And that's history, man. It's so interesting how the Midwest comes over to the West, and that's a whole other radio conversation. But that is, I mean, we were, as individuals, the toughness is, and I think, again, going back to the trail, that part of the trail reminds us of what people went through, you know, even though you get shine at the end of it, and breakfast and food.
And I'm serving legally caught trout.
Legally caught trout. Well done. Legally caught trout. He's making us a message here. Okay, and what are you singing as you serve?
Well, you know, some days I can't get Willie Nelson and Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain out of my head, so that's probably what it would be.
That sounds good.
Nice.
I like this.
That.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You guys rock. Thank you all for joining us on the show, and just so happy about what the trail is doing in regards to living history, getting people outside. I mean, that to me is one of the bigger things too. Understanding the history, the beauty of our land, and having some good campfire food, good conversations, and moonshine. Sounds like a good thing to me. It really does. I encourage everyone to go to the website, appaloosa.com, and when you go there, you'll be able to see Trail and Distance. Click on that, and you'll see Chief Joseph Trail Ride information there. Anything you want to add to that, Steve, for people to know about the trail ride and the club before we go?
Well, two quick things, and I do want people to understand that Andy and Ervin are indispensable. I mean, they do so much for all of us, and really awesome. But the other thing, we talk about caring for people with the good food, but I think people might need to be reassured that we also provide a veterinarian, a physician, a farrier, and all kinds of, I think, Andy, maybe for every 25 or so riders, we have what we call a scout, but he's really a safety rider. So we have plenty of people trying to take care of you.
Wow. That's a good thing to say. I'm glad because we've been on rides where you're on your own.
Right. You're on your own. Good luck.
We don't allow that.
Anything you want to add, Andy, before we go?
Well, no, I think like Steve said, we have professional people, and they are really good professional people. I had two of my crew members this year that had some health issues, and Dr. Hill from Missouri came over and saw them and helped them, and very, very nice to have that available when you're out, that far out. And they're just very good people, and we have very good vet, very good farrier. They're just top quality people, and it's really good to have that.
That's awesome.
Ervin, what about you? Is there anything we can do to keep ourselves on the trail to help you more? Like learn a map?
Just be safe. Yeah, that would help. But we're just be safe. That's have a good relationship with your horse and your friends around you.
Yep.
Christy, what about you? Last comments for everybody that's thinking about
I have a simple statement to make. You can get in a car and go see what man has made, but you have to be on the back of a horse to see what God has made.
There it is.
Amen.
Exactly. I like it too.
Me too.
I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's just an honor. I think what you're doing is amazing. Like Nancy and I just keep saying, it's like every time, every year, please keep coming on every year and giving us an update. But hopefully next year we'll be there, or the one after. We will be there at some point on your trail. We will get there. There's shine, but I'm bringing marshmallows because that's a good thing. And,
okay, I'll bring the chocolate.
Oh, you're bringing chocolate? Good. And,
I'll bring the chocolate.
Oh, yeah, we like that. We like that. And everybody, again,
I guess we're bringing crackers.
You bringing the crackers? Yeah.
Crackers is good.
Graham crackers.
Graham crackers, got to have that. Got to have that, you know. But everyone, appaloosa.com is the website to go to get involved. And also keep up with Christy, our friend over in Three Rivers, California. Beautiful community, art community, an amazing place. Nancy and I have spent a few times. We've been there, 2, 3, 4 times? A lot of time. We spent a lot of time in Three Rivers and Tulare County, which is the gateway to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park, especially Sequoia National Park. And when you go riding with Christy, you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to connect with horses before you even get out on the trail. And also, you're going to see this amazing, the foothills of the Sequoias. It's just so beautiful. So go to wdnhorse.com, which is woodenhorse.com. So wdnhorse.com. And I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us. You can go to bigblendradio.com to keep up with our schedule. We air Sunday through Friday. And we've got a song to air for today's show.
Can I just say one last thing?
Of course, you're the mother.
Sit tall in the saddle, my friend.
That's
Christy,
a girl.
Is that
That's true.
That's true.
Okay. That's true.
There you go. Sit tall. All right. So we have to have posture. See? You must have posture in the saddle. All right. Here is a song. It is called Prayer for the Past. And it is from, I think, Christy, we actually played this the last time you were on the show. It's from our friend Ervin Ozan. He's won all kinds of awards and Emmy Awards for his flute playing. And this is off of his album, As Things Could Be. And everyone, you can go to ozanmusic.com. But here it is, Prayer for the Past. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
You too. Do 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 do.